Hey guys, RPR. It is Friday, October 3rd, 2014, and here to bring you the latest from the Ebola scare, right? And as of Thursday, early morning Thursday, October 2nd, we have here health officials say up to 100 people may have had some kind of contact with Texas Ebola patient. Um, Up to 100 people may have had direct or indirect contact with the first person to be diagnosed with the deadly Ebola virus in the U.S., and four of his relatives have been quarantined in their homes as a precaution, health officials said Thursday. Now, I actually have family over in Dallas, Texas, and my sister in particular was freaking out, and she actually contacted me earlier, seeking my advice on what I felt about this situation. I informed her the truth, which is that it's not Ebola, the actual virus she needs to be afraid of. Okay? That's a bunch of hogwash. Alright? The actual truth that the mainstream media will never tell you, because the agenda is the exact opposite, is to fear the virus, but really, everyone needs to fear the vaccine that they are going to roll out that's currently in trials. And along with two other vaccines that, if not already in trials, it will be shortly. So that'll be a total of 3 vaccines in trials, but it's the first one that you guys need to focus on, in my opinion. And I've covered that first initial vaccine that I'm talking about extensively on my channel. I'll explain here in a minute. But here we go with ABC. Texas hospital blames records flaw as reason Ebola patient was first released. You know, they're going to blame it all on incompetence, mistakes for all of these stories. But it's all hogwash. It's all orchestrated. It's all by design. Part of the scare campaign. Don't be fooled. Don't be afraid of it. CNN, frustrated woman quarantined with sheets, towels soiled by Ebola patients. Mother of Ebola patient's son. Play this real quick.
Patient reveal all before he boarded that flight. We do have team coverage tonight. Dr. Besser is standing by answering your questions again. But first, ABC Cecilia Vega live in Dallas and leading us off. Cecilia, good evening.
David, good evening to you. That Ebola patient fighting for his life right here behind me. I spoke with his wife, who is in quarantine right now. She told me today, I just want my husband to be well. Inside this apartment in Dallas, a family in quarantine. Relatives of the first person ever diagnosed with Ebola in the United States ordered by law not to leave. And we know they've tried. A police officer now posted outside, food and supplies delivered, even the walkways hosed down.
Nobody is supposed to go inside the apartment. They are in their apartment. They cannot come out.
Disease detectives now in a race to answer one question. How many people could one person have infected? Their investigation starts here with Thomas Eric Duncan in isolation at this Dallas hospital. He is patient zero. The CDC now tracking 100 people he may have come into contact.
All the graphics, the whole theatrics. Again, don't be fooled by all of this, guys. Do not be fooled. And of course, the American scientists in 2006 called for using Ebola to exterminate 90% of the Earth's population. We all know about that. Leave links for all of this. And another thing that is a huge red flag that everyone needs to be aware of is Bill Gates and Monsanto's hand and role in this whole thing. Of course, they got their dirty little hands in the patent, right, for the existing Ebola and related vaccines. Of course, if Bill Gates is going to make money on these Ebola vaccines, you know they are nothing but trouble. You know that there's something very, very, very sinister going on here. All this evil scumbag cares about is himself and his own elite, club, and making money and profiting off of our demise. That is all this guy and the others like him care about. If he's involved with this entire agenda and he's going to benefit off of this, you know something's not right here with these vaccines. Back to ABC News. Multiple vaccines in the works against Ebola, as I mentioned before.
A new vaccine to prevent Ebola can't come soon enough.
Next week, we're going to be putting this vaccine for the first time in humans.
20 healthy.
A new vaccine can't come soon enough. And so, the initial vaccine the first vaccine they put in trials was this one. Rabies-based vaccine. This is the one I've covered extensively. And so here we go. Right here. Okay, first Ebola vaccine could be less than a year away, scientists says. Here, Matthias Schnell, director of the Jefferson Vaccine Center at Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia, explained that the vaccine he is developing with researchers from the U.S. National Institutes of Health is based on a human rabies vaccine. Guys, this is the vaccine that they will choose out of the trials. Out of the several they will have in trials, this is the one. This is the one. Mark my words. So this is what's going to happen, guys. Let's take a look. Vaccine trials have begun in the U.S. for one vaccine, the NIAID/GSK GlaxoSmithKline, which is the Ebola rabies vaccine. The U.S. trial will be small, 20 people, but others will be enrolled in other countries. The vaccine theoretically would protect against Ebola Zaire, the strain causing the current outbreak, and Ebola Sudan, a different but also deadly strain. Because of the spreading infection in Africa, if the trial is successful, and pay close attention to this, guys, this is crucial, the vaccine may be speeded into production rather than undergoing the years of additional clinical trials that are almost always required for a new drug. Let that sink in for one moment. The vaccines might be able to offer protection, some protection, to people in the affected area who haven't developed Ebola. 2 other vaccines will begin initial trials within the next few weeks. And those are the other 2 I mentioned. But you can just disregard those 2. Okay, again, let's focus on this initial vaccine, the first one to undergo trials, which is this Ebola rabies vaccine. And there's a reason for that. Keep it in mind. But let's focus on this, the statement, and the fact that they will be willing to speed this into production and roll it out only after months of clinical trials. Guys, this is what you should be afraid of. This is what you should be afraid of. Do you see what they're setting up here? It's not hard to figure this out. They are setting themselves up so that they will not be the ones to blame if something, quote unquote, goes wrong with the vaccine. There is no doubt in my mind this is what's going to happen. Something's going to go wrong. So something happens and these vaccines don't work. Translation, they cause the actual pandemic. And we can't blame the government. Why? Because, Ebola was everywhere, right? We were scared. They were scared. Everyone was scared. They had to roll it out. They had to disregard the years of clinical trials. They had to save us, right? Just like in the movies. World War Z, I Am Legend. They had to save us with the vaccine. The all-powerful government and vaccine hero had to come out and save us and save the day. And now you know what all of the Hollywood programming is all about. It's all one big giant vaccine commercial, guys. It's all it is. That is the end game here. This vaccine. I've said it time and time again, and the connections continue to mount. So again, why the focus on this Ebola rabies vaccine? Why is it the first one to go through trials? And why do I say this is the first one they will roll out and choose to roll out? Well, if you've been following my channel and if you're aware of the connection, the Ebola rabies connection to zombies, yes, zombies, and the whole zombie phenomenon and zombie craze, you'll understand why they are going to choose this. Okay, and if you've seen my videos, you understand. But for those of you not aware, this is no joke. It's not a joke, and it's not that crazy as it seems once you connect the dots here. Okay, I'll leave you links if you haven't seen it. But the Ebola scare right here, Ebola scare, all about 28 days later rage virus vaccine. I put this out in August, early August. Yes, rabies Ebola is just so happens to be what makes up the so-called rage virus in 28 days later, a zombie Ebola movie. You can't make this up. Again, there's a reason for the zombie programming that we've had, that we've been inundated with for the past 10 years. And now all of these vaccine and zombie and disease movies, World War Z, I Am Legend, Contagion, they all have the same common thread, right? The government will save us with a vaccine and zombies, and we're going to eat each other like zombies, right? 28 days later. I Am Legend. And there's TV shows like The Strain and this other show where the ship and a global pandemic occurs on TNT. It goes on and on. What do you think all of this programming is for? The zombie craze and the Ebola, this whole Ebola campaign, is connected. Oh, you don't believe me? And you still think this is crazy? And just like I've had a few people come on in my first few videos on this in denial, saying it's crazy. Really? Even though the connections continue? Even though recent headlines? Ebola zombies? Yeah. Oh yeah. Some of you guys heard about it. The so-called Ebola zombies resurrecting? Major publication in Liberia speculates Ebola is US-funded bioweapon. Dead now resurrecting like zombies. Are you kidding me? I know that it's been confirmed they weren't dead. Of course they weren't dead. Alright? That's not the point of the story, guys. The point is to connect Ebola with zombies and to program us further. Washington Post headline here. No, Ebola isn't a zombie virus. Oh, case closed. Nothing to worry about. Washington Post, CDC says no zombie apocalypse, no Ebola zombie connection. It's all good. Don't worry about it, guys. Right here, headline, nice little zombie picture, right? This story and headline has gone viral. All over social media, all over Twitter, mainstream media, you name it. You think that's by accident? It's all by design. It is everywhere, and supposedly a third victim, as of yesterday, Thursday, October 2nd, a third victim has reportedly risen from the dead. They are not actually rising from the dead. We know this. This is all about the connection here, guys. Are you not getting it yet? Okay? Look at this. Ebola zombies. You can find a million articles on this. Ebola zombie apocalypse. International Business Times even. Jumping in on the fun. Ebola zombies. I told you. It's all over. Here we go. Ebola zombies. Oh yeah. No zombie connection, guys. Don't worry about it. Every TV show, every movie, every commercial, CDC preparedness campaign, their own marketing campaign, zombie themed, FEMA zombie drills. Nope, it means nothing. It's all one big fat coincidence. Don't worry about it, guys. As a matter of fact, disregard everything I just told you. Okay? I mean, is there any more we need to see to realize there is something to this Ebola zombie connection, and we are not imagining things? Nobody's making this crap up. It's right in front of our face. Oh, and by the way, I want to show you guys this one last piece here. We're on this site called Zombie Research Society, and basically it's a mainstream, zombie pop culture website. They're completely emotionally attached to the zombie craze and phenomenon, so they're not going to be seeing this with an open mind and seeing the obvious connections. But there's an article here that should be looked at because he pieces it all together, and he still comes to the conclusion of demonizing us, calling us conspiracy nuts for pointing out the zombie agenda, the zombie conditioning that's going on. So really just disappointing, and just a sign of these zombie freaks, the conditioning. They can never come to grips and accept the fact that there is a zombie connection and something going on here, because they're so emotionally attached with this meme. But as you see here, in a case where reality is stranger than fiction, it has come to light that the U.S. National Institute of Health and Department of Health and Human Services are granting an exclusive license to XL Bio Incorporated in Minnesota to produce a vaccine to combat Ebola using a modified rabies virus. If this sounds vaguely familiar, let me refresh your memory. And here he says, it is actually a modified Ebola virus that sets off the entire apocalyptic chain reaction in the movie 28 Days Later, resulting in the rage virus that sees those infected go completely rabies, quote-unquote rabies berserk, and start killing and eating people. And right here he says, as a believer in science and general skeptic of conspiracy theories, even I find this a little chilling. He then goes on to say, what does concern me, though, is widespread panic and the inevitable rushing to market of an untested vaccine, which may occur should Ebola break free from its shaky cage in Africa. You know, it's interesting to read a skeptic's point of view on this, even after pointing all of these coincidences and connections. And here he says, we're already seeing this rushing to market scenario right now. The administering of the experimental drug ZMapp from biotech firm MAP to 2 American aid workers who recently fell sick with Ebola in Liberia. Yes, we know about this. ZMapp, of course, calling it ZMapp. Oh, what another coincidence. Z. That doesn't at all suggest zombie. You know, zombie map. No, no. So he goes on to say he's a science and vaccine lover and enthusiast. And there's no way to... There's some kind of conspiracy here. Yeah. You know what? We'll see who the crazy ones are in due time, my friend. In due time. You want to go ahead and keep denying all of the evidence here and what they're doing, and believe in the Ebola scare, the fear-mongering that's taking place. You want to go ahead and trust your corporate-controlled mainstream media that is controlled by your government and corporations, 6 corporations who have an agenda to make billions off of the vaccines, to scare you into shitting your pants over Ebola and ISIS and the rest of it. Good luck with that. So to conclude, to me, I see that there will be a Ebola rabies or Ebola zombie, whatever you want to call it, hybrid disease that will be engineered from this entire thing. That's what I see. You can call me crazy, whatever, but all of these connections, all the programming, and rolling out the vaccine prematurely, leaving room for quote-unquote something to happen, I'm 100% convinced that this is what they are planning.